What's up, everyone? This is Pooka, and welcome to another deck I'm going to show off here on Pokemon TCG Online. This was one of the biggest decks from, I would say, City Championships and the Winter Regional Championships. That's going to be Virizion Genesect. But this was a version that was popularized by a player in the Northwest who won their regional championships out in Oregon. And that's going to feature not only just Virizion and Genesect, but also Ho-Oh EX and some other tricky attackers as well. And we're going to update this for X and Y. So first things first, let's look at the basic strategy of the deck. We start off with Virizion EX, has 170 HP, pretty good. Verdant Wind is a very good ability. Each of your Pokemon that has any grass energy attached can't be affected by special conditions, so this effectively neutralizes things like Hypnotoxic Laser and Excelgor's Deck and Cover. Anything involving special conditions, you shut that down completely. But the other thing it has is Emerald Slash. For 1 grass, 1 colorless energy does 50 damage, and then you get to search your deck for 2 grass energy and attach them to one of your benched Pokemon. So it's very good. 50 plus some energy acceleration really helps you power up your Pokemon. So we have Virizion, Emerald Slashing. Where do we put the energy? It's going to go on to Genesect EX. It has Megalo Cannon, does 100 damage, and then 20 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Also has a bigger attack, which we'll get to in a second. But it has the awesome ability Red Signal as well. When you attach a Plasma Energy to this Pokemon, you can switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of the bench Pokemon. And you get to choose which bench Pokemon. It's like Pokemon Catcher. You pick something off the bench, bring it active. So one of the best abilities in the game, I would say. So you have Red Signal and Megalo Cannon, but also the big attack, your Ace Spec card, G Booster. When you put this on Genesect EX, it does 200 damage. Nothing can stop it. It's not affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon. So it goes through anything, goes through Safeguard, goes through Aegislash's King Shield, anything, any effect. G Booster is not stopped. It just plows through anything, pretty much knocks everything out for 200 damage. I know the Mega Pokemon can survive, but most practical things will get knocked out in one hit by G Booster. You do have to discard 2 energy, but that's not that big of a deal when you're wiping, a Pokemon EX clean off the board with G Booster. So, in order to help with more energy acceleration, the deck runs 2 Ho-Oh EX. Now, this has the ability Rebirth. If it's in your discard pile, you can flip a coin. If heads, then you pull Ho-Oh EX out of the discard pile with 3 different types of basic energy. So Ho-Oh can serve 2 purposes here. Number 1 is energy acceleration. You get energy in play out of nowhere, and then you get to move it to other Pokemon with Energy Switch. Just move a basic energy from one Pokemon to another. Pretty simple card, very good effect. So that's use number 1 to power up your Pokemon faster. And number 2, we can actually attack with this thing. We have Rainbow Burn, does 20 plus 20 for each different type of basic energy attached to Ho-Oh EX. Not a very strong attack, but against fire-weak Pokemon, we're starting to do lots of damage. 80 times 2, that's 160, and it only costs 3 energy to do 80. If you have 4 different types of energy, that's 100, and times 2, that's 200 damage. Or now we have the new card to work with, Muscle Band. With 3 energy and then a Muscle Band, you'll knock out most of the fire-weak Pokemon EX, because you'll be doing 200 damage. So Ho-Oh is a very nice card in this deck. We also have some other role players in here. We have Terrakion, which has always been a very good card. For 2 energy, you can retaliate, and then if something was knocked out last turn by damage, you do 60 more damage. So basically 90 for 2. This will attack all those fighting weak Pokemon, like Darkrai EX and Thundurus EX. Those are the 2 big ones. And it's a non-EX Pokemon, so it's very strong. We also have Deoxys EX. Can add 10 damage to your Genesect EX's attacks with his Power Connect ability. And also Helix Force can be used as 30 plus 30 damage for each energy attached to the defending Pokemon if Deoxys EX has a Plasma Energy attached, which we are playing 4 of. So we have Deoxys EX, and then we also have Yveltal EX because, well, why not play it? If you have to run different types of energy for Ho-Oh EX, seems like it makes sense to run this guy. Evil Ball is just really, really good, and makes sense to just throw it in here. Now, you could throw in all sorts of different Pokemon. You can change up the energy types if you want. This is just what I started off with. Seems to be working pretty well. You can throw in more non-EX attackers if you'd like. That usually works out pretty well. If you want to do a dark type, you could do Absol. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. Lots of options out there. You can do Bouffalant, which takes only colorless energy. All sorts of stuff. So build this to your own liking. Doesn't have to look like this deck. Just the main strategy is what's important here. Now we can look at some other cards. We have lots of supporter cards for Skyla. We have 4 Professor Juniper. And we have 4 N as well. Just solid draw cards. And then 2 Chorus, which can be good once the benches start to get large. So that's, 14 draw supporters already. And then 1 Tropical Beach. You don't need this for the deck. I just like playing it if you have it. It's just a very, very nice stadium card, especially when stadiums can be so important nowadays. Being able to counter your opponents is very powerful. So we have 1 Tropical Beach in here as well. And then 2 Shadow Triad. This is a very useful card in this deck. Put a Team Plasma card from your discard pile into your hand. So, normally this is going to go for one of 2 things. Number 1, G-Booster. It's actually a Team Plasma card, so you can get it back with Shadow Triad if it gets discarded by Tool Scrapper or something like that. So you can reuse your Ace-Spec card. It's very unique in that fashion. This is probably the main reason you play Shadow Triad, but you can also get back Plasma Energy, which is nice as well, since sometimes you just need one more red signal. Pick off 1 weak Pokemon to win the game. You can choose any of the Team Plasma cards as targets for Shadow Triad, but those are your 2 main ones. Otherwise, like I mentioned, we have Muscle Band. This is very good to add damage to your attacks. Namely, it's good on Virizion EX to make it do 70 damage instead of 50. This can knock out cards like Sableye in 1 hit, and really help you hit nice numbers that you couldn't before in terms of damage output. Otherwise, we have 4 Ultra Ball because we want to get our energy in the discard pile. We want to get those Ho-Oh EX in the discard pile. The 4 Energy Switch, which I brought up before, again because of Ho-Oh EX. We have a couple switching cards, 2 Switch, and 1 Escape Rope. 1 Professor's Letter. This is really, really nice with Ho-Oh EX. Search for 2 basic energy cards. That's awesome. You can search for 2 different types, and there you go. You get the energy in the discard pile for Ho-Oh, and you can rebirth. This is just an extremely good card. And then a lot of people run lots of Chorus Machine in their Genesect decks. I don't actually like it that much. We still stick with 1 in here, since it can be good for some energy acceleration, but a lot of the time you just want to use your Plasma Energy for red signal, so we're just cutting it down to 1 Chorus Machine. It's too good not to play, but we are going to keep 1 in here. Otherwise, we have all the different types of energy. We have 4 Plasma Energy, just 1 Psychic, that's all you really need. 7 Grass, you need enough to keep attacking, to keep fighting them with Emerald Slash, and also to, keep attacking with new Genesects. We have 2 Fighting Energy, so we can use Terrakian's attacks, and then 1 Darkness Energy as well for Yveltal EX's Evil Ball. So that is the deck in a nutshell. There's all sorts of stuff you can change, but this is just a basic look at this deck, and we'll go ahead and take a look at a game I played with it as well. And let's see this deck in action. It's actually one of my favorite decks to use right now, and looks like we're going up against a Fairy deck. So it looks like an interesting Fairy deck. Had some Fairy Energy and double colorless energy. We also saw a Hard Charm, which we don't really see too often. So we'll see how this goes. Clearly, I'm starting with the Yveltal EX here, since you don't really want to start with Ho-Oh, you just want to rebirth it. And I'm just taking a look at the game log here. And sometimes it doesn't actually tell you who goes first, so you have to look at the game log sometimes to see who actually goes first, which is pretty annoying. But whatever. Looks like my opponent's going to play an N, and my hand looks much worse right now. Shadow Triad, not a good card early on in the game. It's just only good later on to recover cards. It's hardly a supporter at all in terms of, setting up your deck. But, oh well. I do draw I think I drew the Deoxys EX for the turn. Not going to be very good. But I do have the Professor's Letter. So we'll go ahead and search for 2 energy. And so we can discard some cards for the Ultra Ball that I'm going to play, and we'll probably grab Virizion EX and start to get energy on that. The goal for this deck, you really don't do anything turn 1, but turn 2, you try to Emerald Slash with Virizion EX, get some energy onto a Genesect EX. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. But you get the energy into Genesect, and then from there you can either Emerald Slash again if you can, or just start being aggressive with Genesect. And you can continue to be aggressive with Genesect if you can get Ho-Oh in the discard pile, Rebirth, and Energy Switch. It's just a constant stream of attacking. So we're going to go right for that Virizion EX, attach to it, and pass the turn. You know, my hand doesn't look too good, but even switching and then Emerald Slashing onto the Yveltal EX wouldn't even be bad. But we do see an N, and I'm happy to see that. This hand isn't the greatest, but I will definitely take it, and we'll see what we can do. We do see Keldeo EX is going to rush in, and it looks like a retreat into the Xerneas. So this is just a kind of a streamlined fairy deck running the Fairy Garden that allows all Pokemon with Fairy Energy to get free retreat. And it looks like it's just revolving around Mewtwo EX and Xerneas, and maybe some other Fairy-type Pokemon, I'm not too sure. Now here I have a decision to make. I can switch, or we can Escape Rope. I'm going to have to Juniper and discard one or the other anyway, and I want Virizion EX in the active spot. I'm going to take a look. Swirlix does have 60 HP. If I Escape Rope and my opponent sends that out, I could get a Muscle Band, maybe knock it out. Otherwise, if I Escape Rope, maybe my opponent sends out Keldeo or the Mewtwo and I get a free hit in on it. I don't feel like putting 50 on the Xerneas is going to do a whole lot. So I think I'm going to Escape Rope here. Maybe just doing 50 was the better route, but I think I'm just going to Escape Rope right here. Xerneas isn't really a threatening attacker. Does 100 for 3, sure, but it has to discard an energy, and it really commits a lot of energy to use it. So I'm just going to Escape Rope and see if we can get something better. The Swirlix does come out, so maybe if we draw a Muscle Band, we can get an easy prize here and just take a quick lead. But looks like that is not going to be the case right here. Instead, I get a Genesect, which is good. I wanted somewhere to put my energy here. And then we'll Emerald Slash for 50 damage, get 2 Grass Energy out of the deck. We see the G-Booster is in there as well, so we can prepare for maybe a G-Booster if the cards fall our way next turn. Now we'll have to see what will my opponent do next. There's a couple options. Number one is just to kind of charge ahead and X-Ball with Mewtwo. There's no way he'll be able to knock out my Virizion EX with X-Ball, but it would put on some damage, put on some pressure. Option number 2 would be, I would say, use Geomancy again with Xerneas, get 2 Fairy Energy into play, and really just build up a ton of energy so that you can get those big turns with Mewtwo and you just X-Ball for a ton of damage. And I guess option number 3 would be Xerneas EX. You could use the attack Breakthrough for 60 and then 32 benched Pokemon. Or you could use the second attack, which is X-Blast, I think. 140 damage. Both of those wouldn't be bad here. Personally, I think I would use Geomancy again, just because building up all that energy is so good. But that would leave my opponent open to, a Red Signal and me knocking out the Aromatisse, which would prevent the Fairy Transfer from happening. So I could see merits to pretty much anything happening right here. Looks like they're going to go for the Xerneas EX route and go for probably a Breakthrough for 60, or we could see the X-Blast. I'm not really sure. Either way, if I could draw an energy right here, this would be huge to Skyla for the G-Booster and get a big knockout. And alright, that's a fortunate top deck there. Got the Darkness Energy. And we can just G-Booster, do 200 damage, and wipe that thing clear off the board, taking away 3 energy from our opponent. And this is not like a Dark-type deck where they can just Dark Patch and get those energy right back. No, they have to manually attach or use Geomancy to get extra ones in play. So this is a devastating blow right here. Being able to G-Booster, just knock out that EX, and wipe those energy off the board. And I think this is what these Fairy decks really struggle with, those one-hit knockouts, taking out their energy in play, because they don't have any real way to recover them. Now we do see a tool scrapper discarding the G booster, and that's pretty painful. Now I won't really be able to do much of anything. If I get an energy switch, I could Megalo Cannon, something like an energy switch, and a plasma energy, maybe bring out Keldeo. Could Megalo Cannon that for 2 more prizes. But looks like Mewtwo is coming out, and he's gonna retreat and transfer some energy up there. And it looks like another, an X-Ball here for a nice 80 damage. But I was fortunate here to top deck a Psychic Energy. So things are really going well for me right now. Top deck that big Psychic Energy. That really makes things easy for me. Going to Skyla, just make sure the Chorus Machine and the Deoxys are in there. And then Ultra Ball, discard Virizion EX, and a Skyla. And we're just going to grab Deoxys EX, put it down, Chorus Machine. This is why I like having, at least one Chorus Machine in the deck for little explosive plays like this. Going to retreat into the Deoxys and go for Ho-Oh's Rebirth. Got a Tails, that's alright. But we can now Helix Force that Mewtwo for the knockout and take 2 more prizes. So this deck is just full of surprises. You don't really know what's going to attack you next. There's just all sorts of things going on. And I'm feeling pretty good about my odds at this point. Up 4 prizes. My opponent has no energy in play. Now there's 1 more. But heck, this is about as good as things can get at this point. So now, let's see. We see a Talo come down. So interesting addition, the Swallow in this deck. Has that ability which allows you to force your opponent's active to the bench, and then they choose someone to bring out, so that may come into play here. I have the Plasma Energy, but I don't really want to play it right here. If I can get like 2 energy switch in some way, I would be able to, Megalo Cannon for the game, because Keldeo is weak to grass. I do play 4 energy switch. I drew 3 of them, but I don't really have a way to attack. If I got heads on Rebirth, I would have won the game with a triple energy switch, retreat, and a Megalo Cannon for the game. But now we're in an awkward spot. I can't even retreat an Emerald Slash because I'd have to discard both energy in order to retreat. I don't have a switch or anything, so that Tails on Ho-Oh really was a bummer. 2 Tails in a row, actually. If I would have gotten 1 in either of those turns, this game would have been over. But that's alright. We gotta forget about that and move on and find out what the best thing is to do here. Now, it might be awkward if my opponent drops down a Mewtwo and then a Muscle Band and X-Balls the Deoxys for a knockout. But that's kind of a risk I'm willing to take here because retreating is pretty lame right now. Retreating and passing. Not really a good thing to do here. So we're just going to leave the Deoxys in the active spot and pass. And there is an N down to 2 cards. Might be in some trouble right now. We see the Hard Charm and a double colorless go on to that Xerneas. Now I could easily just kind of fall apart here and end up losing this game. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see what happens, but this is getting a little scary for me. Now I gotta choose who to send out because of Swellow's ability. I do have a switch, so I'm just gonna send out the Yveltal EX to take a hit. All my opponent could do is break through for 60, but it will do 32 bench Pokemon, so my Genesect EX can get picked off in 2 hits. It does have 110 damage on it already. And oh boy, I drew a Chorus. That was a big card to draw right there. I am going to go ahead and switch into the Virizion EX and then go for a Rebirth and a Tails again. Ho-Oh, you are just letting me down right here. Now, where do I attach this Muscle Band? I'm going to put it on Virizion EX, I think. Just because I'm probably going to Emerald Slash this turn. And yes, got that. Got an energy. Didn't get any energy switches this turn. Kind of weird, but it's alright. Looks like we got plenty of options for the following turn. I should probably play that Tropical Beach, just in case I get hit by another big N. Get rid of that Fairy Garden as well. And there's the Emerald Slash for 50. And we're going to get 2 energy onto a Genesect EX. Thankfully, there are 2 left for me to get out of the deck at this point. A lot of the time you can just run out of energy with this deck, as the Fairy Garden does get rid of the Tropical Beach once again. And oh no, another N. Huh. This could be bad. Now we're in some awkward spots here, trying to figure out what to do next. Now there is 50 damage on the Xerneas already, but a breakthrough would knock out Genesect on the bench. An X-Blast would actually be a game-losing play, because then Deoxys would Helix Force for the win. So my opponent is forced to probably break through for 60 here and just take the knockout on the Genesect EX. That's exactly what happens. And alright, let's try for another rebirth, and finally, Ho-Oh finally comes out of the discard pile. A little too late, buddy, but glad you joined us. We'll see 3 energy come out. We got 3 different types. And I could energy switch. Don't know if I really need to, though. Basically, I'm trying to draw a Plasma Energy to Red Signal, a Tool Scrapper, or a Muscle Band to win the game, to get rid of to basically cancel out the Hard Charm on that, because if Tool Scrapper's in the discard, never mind. So I need to draw a Plasma Energy, which I have 2 of left, or a Muscle Band, which I have 1 of left, to win the game right here. I'll just go ahead and bench the Genesect, so I don't draw that again, and we'll go for an N. Could energy switch here. I'm not really sure if that's worth it. I'd probably just take the energy off Virizion EX if I did that. I mean, I guess I might as well just have a Genesect powered up in case I draw a really bad N. I want to at least just have like 2 attackers powered up. And let's N, and well, those 2 cards look familiar. Drew the exact same 2 cards, N and energy switch. Where were these cards before? Well, where was Ho-Oh before? Anyway, now it's, do I Megalo Cannon or do I Helix Force here? I would say Helix Force is probably the way to go. I can hit this thing up to 150 damage, and that darn Hard Charm actually is keeping my opponent alive. Couldn't get a way to cancel that out. So it's left with 20 HP. A Max Potion could heal that off, but if we don't see that, I think this game is going to be over pretty soon. Again, if I just draw a Plasma Energy, this game is pretty much over. Well, it is over since I can Red Signal the Keldeo EX out and Megalo Cannon for the game. And if this Xerneas does stay active and use Breakthrough or something like that, it just gets knocked out and I win. So it looks like my opponent is running out of space to do things at this point. Could attack with the regular Xerneas this turn, do Rainbow Spear, I suppose. But that's not going to be too effective, and it has to discard an energy to do it. So I am not sure. My opponent is running out of options. Let's see. We see a Max Potion was used. So my opponent probably does play those. And we also see a Cassius, which could be pretty disruptive right here. If my opponent shuffled in the Keldeo EX and then plopped a Mewtwo EX down and used X-Ball, knockout Deoxys, that could be problematic. But it looks like that's not happening. Just a Rainbow Spear for 100 has to discard an energy to use it. And I think, well, I still have the top deck, but, oh, hey, Plasma Energy, finally. So we can Red Signal, we can do either the Keldeo or the Xerneas EX at this point. And let's Helix Force for the game. Deoxys is pretty good sometimes, just Helix Forcing. And this is one of my favorite decks to use, I think. It's just got so many options. Anything with Ho-Oh EX and Energy Switch, I just like using. There's just so many different things you can pull off, and, well, Virizion and Genesect are pretty good, I suppose. But that is going to wrap this game up. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. This is Pooka from the Top Cut, and I will see you guys next time.